Hey y'all, welcome back to the channel. My name is Lanturns and I am your coach for Texan Clearbodies in season number 2 of the No Bullshit League, and this is our week 1. I don't know what to call it because this was supposed to be our week 1 battle, but things happened. So this video is in lieu of that. A couple disclaimers before this actually begins. 1, what happened is nobody's fault. 2, things happen. And 3, I'm going to do my absolute best to do as best a retelling as I possibly can. Now, let's actually get into this. So let me explain the situation. So, Finn and I were scheduled to battle on Saturday, which would have been after my final exam. We were scheduled to battle on Saturday. We hadn't set a time on Saturday when to battle yet. We had just said, you know, we're going to play on Saturday. You tell me what time works. So what ended up happening was I took my exam, but the night before I had actually pulled an all-nighter to study for my exam. So I ended up falling asleep after my exam. I slept from about 12:30 to 5:30, and then I messaged Finn. I was like, okay, so here's the situation. We can either battle right now, we can battle in a couple hours when I'm actually awake, or we can battle tomorrow. And ultimately, he decided that we were good to battle in 2 hours, which at that point would have been 8 p.m. my time. And so we scheduled for 8 p.m. The battle actually happened at around 8:30 p.m. Because, you know, things happened. I got a little bit busy, forgot to message him. But anyway, we started at 8:30. And I'm going to try really hard not to make this video super long, but I want to go ahead and make sure that I give as much detail as possible with this match. So I'm going to try my hardest to make this as short as possible, but expect around 20-25 minutes, just because I want to give as detailed a recollection of the match as possible. Anyways, so he and I get onto Wi-Fi, and we are good to play. We play, no issues. 35 minutes, I want to say. 35 minutes into the counter, which is about halfway through, just a little over halfway through the 60-minute clock, we disconnect, we DC. Now, as I said in the disclaimer section of this, that it was nobody's fault that we DC'd, because it turns out that both of us were actually online after the DC. So, who's to blame? No idea. So, nobody's to blame. So, now what I'm going to do, because there was no point in us recreating the match, because we were so far into the battle that recreation was almost impossible. So, instead, what I decided to do was to give my best recollection of the game, hitting the most pivotal moments from leads to the end, as well as important things like crits and so on and so forth, to the best of my ability, because oh my god, this game was ridiculous. And I wanted to put something up for you guys. I want to put something up because this game is too good to pass up. If you missed my team builder that went up a couple hours ago, then I encourage you to check out the team builder in the playlist in the description down below, because that team builder will describe my thoughts, my sets, my ideas, and why I bought what I bought. So yeah, let's start off with team preview by looking at the document to house his team, and let's take a look at what he decided to bring. On his draft, he has a Weavile, he has a Mimikyu, he has a Tangrowth, he has a Scolipede, he has a Ditto, he has a Chandelure, he has an Escavalier, he has a Lanturn, he has a Quagsire, he has a Mega Medicham, and our Landers Incarnate with the Ground EMZ Crystal. Of those 6, I will be revealing his sets, because as best as I need to reveal his sets, at least, as the video progresses, because he did tell me his sets after the fact. They were pretty generic sets, because he did mention that he didn't get very much time to prep, so they were kind of generic sets, but I will be discussing his sets as I see necessary. His team in team preview was Weavile, Mimikyu, Scolipede. He also bought his Escavalier, he bought his Lanturn, and he bought his Landers Incarnate. His Landers Incarnate was carrying the Z Crystal, Ground EMZ. So, I looked at the team preview and I'm like, where's your Ditto? Where's your Mega Medicham? You know, in my head, I'm like, where's this Ditto? Where's this Mega Medicham? Where's this Scarf Chandelure? He didn't bring any of those. I'm like, all right, this game is a lot easier now. So now let's look at leads. Looking at leads, my ideal lead was Empoleon because I was like, he has Stealth Rocks, and there's only one way for him to... I have Stealth Rocks on Empoleon, and there's only one way to remove Stealth Rocks on his entire draft. And that method is defog Landers Incarnate. How likely is he to lead Landers Incarnate when I have a Scald staring at him? So I decided to lead Empoleon because I was like, if he leads Scolipede, which is what I'm expecting, I can get rocks up for free, and I can get 2-hit KO with Hidden Power Fire. So I expect the Scolipede lead, and so he does in fact lead with Scolipede. His Scolipede was Focus Sash with Superpower, Earthquake, Swords Dance, and a fourth move that does not matter. He was max speed, max attack, pretty generic set. He was a Focus Sash Scolipede, so he was a Sash lead Scolipede. On the first turn, I expected him to click Protect, which I think he had Protect as a fourth move. I don't know for certain. But I expected him to click Protect. He actually does not click Protect, as I click Stealth Rocks to try to get my rocks up for free. Unfortunately, I don't get my rocks up for free. He gets a Swords Dance, so I'm like, oh, this is a problem. This is a very, very big problem. Empoleon, if you can remember from the Team Builder, which again, if you haven't watched that, I encourage you to check that out in the link, in the description, in the playlist. Check it out. On Empoleon, we can prep with Chople Berry, and Chople Berry was specifically for Mega Medicham to try and live a hit from full from Mega Medicham, hit Scald or Toxic back, and either put that thing on a timer and take the chance and burn it, or eventually kill it, depending on where it would be at. So, Chople Berry actually comes through because he gets a Swords Dance up. I don't know what to do. I click Hidden Power Fire, he clicks Superpower. Chople Berry pops. I live because of the Chople Berry. Even through +2, I live because of the Chople Berry, which tells me he was probably Jolly. So I live because of the Chople Berry at around 53 HP out of 189. I live on 53. I'm able to get Hidden Power Fire off and do exactly 50%. My next point was he's gonna click Superpower again, so I might as well switch into Golurk to avoid that. He makes the prediction, predicting me to switch into Golurk, and clicks off Earthquake. But because he's at +2, Golurk cannot live. Well, he can live the hit because of his HP EVs. However, he cannot live 2. So I try to Fire Punch the Scolipede as Earthquake comes off and kills me. So far we're down 5-6 with him in the lead. He's currently +2/+2. I'm like, okay, what do I do now? My next best option was my Rotom, because I was like, he can click Superpower, I can live it, especially because he took the attack drop from Superpower the first time. The Earthquake attack drop actually was also another reason that I was able to live the Earthquake, and I apologize that I'm saying a lot. I'm just trying to recall as best as I can. So I live the Earthquake because the attack drop, he's only at +1, so he's +1/+2 as far as +1 attack, +2 speed, and I'm like, I'm scared. He may even have been +3, sorry. He may even have been +3, I don't exactly remember exactly where we were as far as speed stats, but I was very concerned because Scolipede is very, very fast, very, very scary, hits like a truck, so I wanted to make sure I got rid of that thing as fast as possible, and I thought, well, you revealed Earthquake, you've revealed Superpower, you have Swords Dance, and you have probably Protect. So my thought is, hey, well, I'm immune to Earthquake because of Levitate, and Superpower should not kill me because I'm physically defensive with 228 defense bolt, so I should be able to live it. And so I go into Rotom Heat, and I click Overheat. I'm able to melt him as he clicks Superpower and does around 40% to me at +1. Mind you, he's +1, so that makes sense. 228 HP again, or EVs, like I said, in defense in the Team Builder is all that I needed because the numbers do not change as far as damage output otherwise. So Rotom Heat is able to live, is able to click Overheat, and then the Scolipede is dead. I'm like, yes, thank God, we took care of that. I want you guys to know he took very, very long when he was doing his plays. He took very long, and it had my nerves through the roof. So far, I've tied it up. Golurk is dead on my side, and Scolipede is dead on his side. His next play, as it's obvious, is Lantern, because Lantern is probably Volt Absorb, because there's nothing on my team that fires off a water type move that Lantern can't deal with. So he decided to be Volt Absorb. He actually was Volt Absorb because of Jolteon. He was actually a Rest Talk, specially defensive Lantern. That's gonna matter later. I'll talk to you guys about that later on. That'll matter, but he's a Rest Talk, specially defensive Lantern. So he goes into Lantern. I'm like, okay, well, I know you're firing a Scald at my face. My next play is into Empoleon, of course, because I'm ready to sack that thing because Empoleon has done what it needed to do. I don't see a chance for me to get Toxic off on something else. So I switch into Empoleon. Lantern fired 3 Scalds in this entire game. And of those 3 Scalds, he scored 2 Scald burns. Here's the first Scald, here's the first burn. He fires off the Scald. I'm able to live with 50 HP, assuming that I started at 63, I believe it was. So I'm able to live at 50 HP because Scald is resisted, I can eat it. He gets a Scald burn. I'm like, oh, well, crap. I go into next turn trying to click Toxic on the Lantern to put that thing on a timer. Lantern is faster than me because he has a little bit of Speedy D's there, I believe. Even if he didn't, he was faster than me naturally. So he's able to click Volt Switch, and then my Empoleon dies. So now we're down 2 versus 1, which means that we are 4 versus 5 now. And so Lantern actually clicked Volt Switch, and his next play after that was into his Landorus Incarnate. He goes into Landorus on the next turn. Because, yeah, he goes in, I believe he goes into Landorus next turn. And so what happens is Empoleon is dead, and I don't know where to switch in. I don't know what to switch into. So as far as my switch was concerned, I made the switch into Rotom, I believe, because I was like, I can, Volt Switch or whatever. I actually don't remember. No, you know what? He makes the switch into Landorus as on the Volt Switch as I bring in Nihilego. I believe. Was that the play? I'm trying to recall. Hang on. After the Empoleon goes down on the Volt Switch, I believe he goes Landorus here. Yes, he goes Landorus. I don't know that. Okay, so he goes Landorus on the switch. And I go Nihilego. I'm like, okay, well, I can fire off a Sludge Wave and do massive chunks of damage. He knows I'm going to fire off a Sludge Wave. He goes back into Lantern and chew up the Sludge Wave, I believe. And again, I told you guys in disclaimer, I'm not going to be perfect about this. I do apologize about that. I'm doing my absolute best here. Give me a little break. Anyways, so he goes into Lantern, predicting the Sludge Wave. And so I'm able to fire off the Sludge Wave, and good, Here's the second Scald he fires off because... Wait. I'm telling you guys this wrong. Hold on. He goes to Landorus, right? I'm right about that. I don't remember where I went. Okay. I think what ended up happening was I went Landorus versus Rotom Heat, and anticipating me to fire the Water type move, anticipating the Fire type move, he switches back into Lantern. Yeah, I think that's what happened. Again, I don't know for certain, but I'm doing my absolute best. Anyways, so now we have the match, Rotom Heat versus Lantern, and on that play, I decided to go into Kaguya because I'm like, I don't know where else to switch in. I don't know what else to switch in. So, he actually makes the double, predicting me to fire a Fire type move at him, makes the double into Lantern. I make the double into Kaguya because Kaguya actually takes 3 Scalds from full, and I can 2-hit KO a physically defensive variant of Lantern, which he ends up being specially defensive, which again makes it so it's a 3-hit KO. He ends up being Rest Talk, so he would have been able to kill me before I killed him. In any event. So now we have the match. I take the Scald. Here's the second Scald. He doesn't score a burn. I click Sludge Wave. He clicks Scald. I live at around 20% or so. He scores another burn. I'm like, well, crap. This is annoying. He scores another burn. I don't know what his decision here was, but he decides to preserve the Lantern on the next turn. And he switches into Landorus. Here, that's where we go. He switches into Landers here and takes a critical hit Sludge Wave from my Kaguya. As Kaguya ends up dying to a Life Orb Burn combination, Lanturn gets a passive kill from that. So far we are down 4 versus 3. As now I'm sitting in front of a Landers. And I'm thinking, this Landers has to, if this Landers is Scarf, I have a problem. But my next play is to Mega Pidgeot because I was like, if he's not Scarfed, I can Mega Evolve, I can kill him, and claim momentum. So I go into Landers, or I go into Pidgeot, I Mega Evolve and click U-Turn. 36 EV is negative, U-Turn is there for Weavile specifically, but I catch the play into U-Turn. Fortunately, he's not Scarfed, he's actually Groundy and Z-Crystal. So I'm able to catch him on that because I am faster at base 121. And what happens is I get the momentum because he goes from the Landorus into the Lanturn, expecting, I'm gonna guess, the Hurricane to be able to chew it up. So I fire off the Hurricane as I'm supposed to. I fire off the Hurricane because I was like, I need to kill him, and I cannot risk the U-turn killing him. So I fire off the Hurricane because I was like, Pidgeot's going to stay in anyway. So I fire off the Hurricane. Hurricane actually does not quite claim the Lanturn. It does not quite claim the Lanturn because he anticipated the Lanturn, or the Heat Wave or the Hurricane to be able to chew either of them up. He anticipated either one of those, and so he switched into Lanturn because it's specially defensive. He lives on 1, and I'm like slightly annoyed for like 3 seconds as to the fact that he stays and like lives on 1. However, this proves to be fabulous. Because Lanturn on this turn clicks Rest. As I'm faster than him, I'm able to click U-turn, and at the range he was at, around 10-15%, I am able to claim the kill. And from that kill, I'm also able to claim a massive amount of momentum. Because with the U-turn play, because his Lanturn died, I get the swing of momentum. Because he needs to make the decision on what goes in on him, then I get my U-turn momentum and take control of the screen. So he goes into his Weavile because he's like, hey, Weavile outspeeds everything except for Jolteon on his team, which he didn't bring, so Weavile's my next play. He brings in Weavile, and I'm thinking, this is perfect. This is absolutely perfect. Because that's exactly what I have Scarfed Azelf for. I have Scarfed Azelf, so my play was into Azelf there. I get the momentum, and I get the perfect matchup. That was the exact matchup I needed to get. I got the matchup. So what happens is I bank on the fact that Fire Blast needs to hit because I outspeed him because of my Scarf. I outspeed Weavile because of my Scarf. And I thought, well, what if he's a Scarf Weavile? And I'm like, there's no way. Nobody brings Scarf Weavile. There's no way he brought Scarf Weavile. And if he actually brought Scarf Weavile, this man is a god and he deserves to win. By the way, the Lanturn switch on Hurricane was actually his decision, as he said, were another one of his misplays, was a switch on Lanturn. And allowing it to die that quickly was a misplay on his part because that gave me the swing of momentum I needed. So anyway, we're back to where we were. So Azelf versus Weavile. I need to land a Fire Blast. I click my Fire Blast. I land the Fire Blast. I'm able to kill the Weavile. Weavile didn't do anything in this game. And so now I'm like, okay, this is perfect. Then he goes to the Mimikyu. I'm like, oh, what do I do to this thing? I forgot this thing existed. And so then I have a decision to make. I can let him Swords Dance. Because I'm physically defensive Rotom, I can let him Swords Dance or break his disguise as he clicks Shadow Claw and blows me away. Ultimately, I decide the Scarf is too valuable. I go into Rotom, making a switch. He clicks Swords Dance. I'm like, okay, this is exactly the situation that could be a problem. This could be a problem. He turns out not to have Shadow Claw because his Mimikyu is actually Play Rough, Leech Life, Swords Dance, Shadow Sneak. He was Focus Sash Mimikyu as well, but because rocks were up, he loses his Focus Sash, but he had Leech Life to get that recovery back and claim his Focus Sash again. He Swords Dances. I'm like, oh, this is a problem. I go to Rotom because I'm like, okay, Rotom can chew the hit. Rotom doesn't have to take rocks, which is great. So I'm sitting from 100. He clicks Play Rough on the next turn as I switch in, and then I go from 155 to 104. Like, okay. Then I go back up to 100 and something after leftovers. I think it was like 115 or something after leftovers. And then I'm like, okay, I have a decision to make. I can either burn his disguise, I can blow his disguise off the field, and then burn him after that, or I can burn him now and then deal with his disguise. I decide that it's more important for me, even if I do die to the play rough, I think it's more important for me to break the disguise so that Pidgeot can come in, live a hit potentially, and then click like Hurricane and blow it away. So I decide, let's break the disguise. I click Shadow Ball, I break the disguise. He clicks Play Rough, he scores a critical hit Play Rough from 70 HP, because he clicked Play Rough on the turn, I clicked Shadow Ball. I went from 70 HP down to 2. I managed to live, and I get off the Will-O-Wisp. And I'm like, holy mackerel, Rotom, the fact that you actually lived was absolutely game-changing, because as soon as Rotom lived, the game was won. Because Rotom was able to live, I get the shadows, I get the burn off with the Will-O-Wisp, and then I sack Rotom because I'm like, okay, Rotom, you've done enough, you've done exactly what I need you to do. I get the Will-O-Wisp off, and fortunately he's not Lumberry, he's not anything like that, which is great, because if he was, I would have lost. There's no doubt about that. If he was like Lumberry, I would have absolutely lost. So, at this point, my Rotom is sacked to the next play rough, and so then it's a 2v2. Rotom and Mega Pidgeot, or I'm sorry, Azelf and Mega Pidgeot versus Mimikyu and his Escavalier, I believe were the last two that were left. Escavalier and Lanturns, Landers. So it was a 2v3 situation at this point. He comes in on rocks 2 more times. His Landers comes in on rocks 2 more times at this point. He's around 20%. He comes in on rocks twice because he takes 12% from rocks. Because he's a ground flying type, he takes... I don't know how the rocks calc works. I don't know. Either way, he can either come in on rocks once or twice. I don't know. Doesn't end up mattering. Okay. So because I'm able to get the burn off, the Shadow Sneak is not going to kill Azelf. Azelf will take 55% from a +2 burned from a +2 burned Mimikyu, but it's not going to die. So my next play is into Azelf, because I was like, I'm Scarf, I click Shadow Ball, I kill him. And he clicks Shadow Sneak, I don't die. Mega Pidgeot, I cannot risk Mega Pidgeot losing this quickly, because I need that thing for Escavalier. I need Heat Wave for Escavalier. And I'd rather risk Heat Wave than I risk Fire Blast, because Heat Wave is on a no-guard user, so Heat Wave is guaranteed to hit, whereas Fire Blast is a risk. He clicks Mega Horn once he kills me off, right? So again, so I decide Azelf is the play. He clicks Shadow Sneak as I expect him to, as I click Shadow Ball. On this turn, as the Mimikyu dies, the DC happens. At this point, we were 35 minutes into the game. I'm like, alright, this is not good. What do we do? He and I discuss it for a little while, and we decide, sorry the screen's going out by the way. He and I decided to go into voice chat, because there's no reason to recreate the game, because he and I both agreed at this point that there are only 3 turns left of the game. There are, and I will discuss those teams with those last 3 plays with you, as I discussed it with him. We did the calcs, we validated it, and I'll discuss this. Ready? So Mimikyu dies. So now we have a situation where we have Escavalier and Landorus versus my Azelf and my Mega Pidgeot. He told me his next play was into Landorus. After Mimikyu died, his play was into Landorus to attempt to live a hit, but he knew he wasn't going to live a hit, so he's essentially sacking so that Escavalier could solo the last 2. And I told him, well, hey, I'm Scarfed. I click Shadow Ball, and I kill you off from where you are, especially after rocks. There's no doubt about the fact that I kill him after rocks. Without rocks, I even kill him from where he was at because of the critical hit Sludge Wave. He was at around 20-ish%, so he would have died to Shadow Ball. We did the calcs to confirm that. I was timid, but I can still kill him off from where he was at, especially after rocks. I don't know how much the rocks matter. Don't know. Either way, at this point, Azelf claims Landorus in Shadow Ball. and then Escavalier comes in. I decide on this turn, for safety precautions to preserve my victory, my potential victory, I would rather sack Azelf, get some chip damage off, sack Azelf, then switch in Mega Pidgeot, chew up a hit, switch Mega Pidgeot back out, and then reconfirm my Scarf Fire Blast, and only to miss it. Only because maybe he has Swords Dance, maybe he has Iron Head, maybe he has like Rock Slide or something. You know, what if he has some move? So I decide to stay in with Azelf. Azelf clicks Shadow Ball. After rocks, he takes a total of anywhere between 26 and 30%, depending on the damage roll. The minimum damage roll is 20.9%. So we're gonna say, on the average ballpark, he takes around 23, 24, maybe 25%, because he was a max HP, max attack variant with leftovers. So he takes around 20, let's say after rocks, he takes 30%. He's recovered 12% from leftovers, let's say. At that point, he's left at 18% damage. So he's left at 82%. He has 82% health at that point. Azelf is dead because the Mega Horn hits. Assume the Mega Horn doesn't hit, I click Shadow Ball again, Mega Horn hits the next time. It doesn't matter. Azelf was frail, he could have clicked any move. He could have clicked Iron Hit for all I care and killed me off. So at this point, Azelf is dead. So now this match is a 1v1. This match is Mega Pidgeot versus his Escavalier. His Escavalier is not Assault Vest. It's actually max HP, max attack, Adamant Nature with 4 defense with the leftovers. And I did the calcs with that exact set. We actually did the Rest Talk. Offensive. The Rest Talk offensive. Whatchamacallit? We did the Rest Talk offensive Escavalier. Sorry, I couldn't think of its name for a second. We did the Rest Talk offensive in the calc. It's essentially the same set. The only difference is that Rest Talk on there is that he's not Rest Talk. He's Swords Dance with like, I think he was like Swords Dance, Iron Head, Mega Horn, and like Earthquake or something. So, you know, I don't know exactly what the set was. It doesn't matter. So he's not Assault Vest, so he's not going to live. We did the damage calc, and actually, if he was Assault Vest, it was a damage roll, whether I killed him or not. So then I would have to risk landing 2 hits and living 1. Depending on what the set was, I'd have to risk living a hit. But because he's not Assault Vest, the Heat Wave does minimum 103.9. If he's Assault Vest, the damage roll is minimum 70.3, I believe. 70.3, which means that since he was at 82% after leftovers, he lives on 12. Then I have to risk the chance of a burn. If I score a burn, I win. Even if I don't score a burn, I still win in 2 hits. I assume that I'm hoping that I live 1 hit. 12 defense allows me to do that, potentially. I don't remember the calcs exactly, but anyways. Because he's not Assault Vest on his Escavalier, he dies to 1 Heat Wave, and I claim a 1-0 with Mega Pidgeot in the back. I claim a 1-0 win over Finn with the use of Mega Pidgeot. So your Texan Clearbodies are able to claim a 1-0 win over the Long Island Lanturns. Now, let me explain a little really quickly as to why the Rest Talk set was important. Because he was a defensive set, firstly, and then why it was important that I got to U-turn and I didn't quite get the kill with Hurricane. Why it was important? Because on the turn he clicks Rest. If he had died, he goes into Weavile. I lose so much momentum because then I have to sack something to be able to bring, and then I lose pretty much because the Weavile puts on way too much pressure. Because he lived, because Hurricane min rolled, because I lived, I got the momentum swing. If Lanturn had died right there, I lost because I would not have been able to get the momentum swing without sacking Azelf in the process. I would have had to sack Azelf in the process, and then I wouldn't have had something to deal with his Landers. You know, Mega Pidgeot would probably have been able to deal with it, but there was a lot more what ifs if Lanturn had lived and gotten a rest off, especially because he clicked Rest on that turn. If he'd have been able to get a rest off, there was no way I could break Lanturn. There's no way I could break Lanturn because it was specially defensive. It's a 3-hit KO. Scald is a 2-hit KO from where I was at. So it's very, very, very good that I actually ended up not killing the Lantern and instead gave that kill to... I still gave it to Mega Pidgeot. I still gave it to Pidgeot, but I gave it to it with a different move. Because I was able to give it to it with U-turn, I was able to get the momentum swing that swung me to victory. So, that's why the rest talk set's important. Because he missed out on his chance to click rest, and I got the momentum swing from the kill that I needed to get to swing me straight to the finish line and the W in this game in a very, very narrow 1-0 fashion. Massive GG's to Finn. I hope that this fashion of recollection helped you guys, or like was acceptable. I apologize that, you know, it happened the way it did, but at that point there was no controlling it because we were 35 minutes into the game, no Wi-Fi issues, nothing. There was no issue in recollection, in like recreating. If we were 5 turns in instead of 3, like instead of like the last 3 turns, if we weren't in the last 3 turns, he and I may have been open to recreating the game for you guys. But because we were able to play off so much, and so much information was revealed about what each of us had bought, there was no means of recreation, especially with only 2 mons for me and 3 mons for him, especially with where we were at, because there was no way for me to have been able to get that critical hit sludge wave damage off on Lanturns, which was very, very critical to the situation we were in. So we ultimately decided to just voice chat and theory-mon it out. We theory-mon it out. He accepted the 1-0 loss because he accepted how the game plays out, because at the point of disconnect, I knew exactly how the game was going to play out. And I was like, there's no reason for us to recreate. Let's just chat. Let's get it thinned out for the sheet. Let's give kills to where they need to go. And we ultimately gave kills exactly where they needed to go, because I had the exact end game in my mind. So we played the end game. He agreed to the end game. He agreed to the logic proven by calcs that he and I did in call together. So the Texan Clearbodies claim a 1-0 win over the Long Island Lanturns in a very, very, very good, well-fought, hard-fought uphill battle, because we started off on the absolute back foot. We were on the back foot for a lot of this game until the Mimikyu got burned. I think that was the big momentum swing, because I would have been able to mitigate everything else. I would have been able to deal with everything else that burned Mimikyu. If I hadn't burned the Mimikyu, I'd have lost the Mimikyu Shadow Sneak. Or Play Rough, because yeah, Mimikyu can live 1 hit. It would have depended on where he was at and what move would have killed him. It would have depended on if Hurricane would have killed him. I might have been able to kill him, but then my differential would have been lowered, and then I would have had issues dealing with Weavile, because I would have been outsped by Weavile, and 1 ice type move would kill me. So the burn on Mimikyu was actually absolutely essential. Absolute shoutouts to Rotom Heat, the Strudel, our Toaster Strudel, for being the MVP this game, because without him living that Play Rough critical, I would have actually lost the game. So massive GG's to Finn. I hope to play him again. We actually do play him again in 3 weeks, I believe. He and I play again in week 4 as the division match. So I hope to see him again then. But until our next video, I hope you guys enjoyed this. And if you did, let me know down below. Because if we need to do something like this, I'll know to be able to do something like this again. And that is acceptable. But yeah, until our next video, which will be our Alola International Week 2 game, or our Week 2 battle, I hope to see you guys again. And until then, this is your coach for the Texan Clearbodies. My name is Buttergrossman, and I'll see you all next time. Bye, y'all.